Two teams delighting their fan bases this season go head-to-head in the capital today. For the Reds, this is a chance to go clear at the top this evening, so victory is vital over the Bees. Yeah, it's going to be a tough test today, isn't it, against the Premier League new boys who play like they've been in this top flight for years, really. It's Brentford against Liverpool at the Community Stadium, and kick-off is at 5:30. And welcome along to the Matchday Live preview show, presented today by Standard Chartered. Jason McAteer and Gary Gillespie are alongside me in the studio today, fresh from watching that Chelsea City game, and results elsewhere today mean 3 points for Liverpool, vital tonight.
Yeah, it was a big weekend, wasn't it? In fact, it's a big couple of weekends coming up for all the teams at the top. You know, none more so than us, with City and Man United on the horizon. But yeah, Villa have done a turn for us today, and obviously Chelsea have slipped up at home, which was, you know, a big result. Thomas Tuchel won't be happy with that. Like I said, certainly being at home, but you can't write off Pep, can you? He's, you know, just when they go 5 points behind everyone else, all of a sudden he comes up with a victory like that, like sort of out the blue. Excuse the pun, out the blue. See what I did there? Yeah, but it's a big afternoon at Liverpool. You know, don't slip up against the team, like you mentioned, Bex, at the top of the show, going really well. Only one defeat and 7 for Brentford, so it's going to be a tough ask. But it's important that Liverpool just step on the gas now and impose their authority at the top and get a nice little gap.
I think it's a plus, but you can't really get carried away with other teams' results, especially at this stage of the season. There's a lot of football still to be played. But it is certainly a plus, but it's only a plus if Liverpool can capitalise on getting the 3 points against Brentford today.
But psychologically, isn't it? You know, it's been tight for a few weeks now. Obviously, it's very early days, but to get your nose out in front is always great.
Yeah, no one's really give anything at the top.
Yeah.
But I think we always knew them 4 teams were going to be, you know, sitting at the top and vying for the top position come the end of the season. You know, I've not been impressed with Manchester United's start, albeit they're up there. I've been impressed with Chelsea. And obviously Manchester City have dropped points. I certainly think Liverpool are the front runners at the minute as form goes, and rightly sitting at the top with Chelsea. But yeah, I agree with Gary. There's still a lot of football to be played. You know, in the next couple of weeks, I think, you know, we'll see a clearer picture with everyone sort of playing each other, where points are going to be dropped, and how things are going to pan out.
Let's cast our minds back to the 2 recent games. Obviously, there was the win over Crystal Palace last weekend, and then it was Norwich in the Carabao Cup, which, as you would expect, Gary, in the Carabao Cup, some changes to personnel. And I think in previous seasons, maybe we've struggled with that squad depth, but that's not the case now.
Well, I think it's getting the balance, isn't it? Utilising the players that haven't been able to break into the starting 11 on a regular basis in the Premier League, and obviously blooding some youngsters as well. I think the overall performance, I think, was pretty good. And I think it just showed you that, you know, Liverpool at this moment in time probably have a little bit more strength and depth than maybe what we've had in the past. You know, Origi comes on, scores his goal. You know, this was a great little goal, wasn't it? You know, he waited his chance, he bided his time, he sits the goalkeeper down and then just slots it past him. So, you know, there is players to come in off like the sidelines to strengthen that starting 11, and it will be getting utilised. The whole squad will be utilised, especially in the run up to Christmas, because there's so many games, and especially if we go far in this competition in the Carabao Cup as well. Yeah,
let's quickly touch on Minamino, Jace, because he looked composed, didn't he, with those 2 finishes, and obviously the midfield has been decimated a bit by injuries at the moment, so you think maybe he might be involved against Porto next week?
Possibly. I think the big surprise for me was against Milan. I think seeing Divock Origi go straight into the starting lineup, where he's come really out the cold. But I think done pre-season, I thought Minamino was ahead of him. I thought he looked sharper. He got a couple of goals as well. And then all of a sudden, you know, the manager obviously wants to make change and rotation, which we all agree with, and you know, we all go with it. But for Origi to start in front of Minamino was a shock to me, and I think it might have been a shock to Minamino as well. But I think when you look at him, you know, he's come in. It's been difficult for him. He's come in through a COVID period. He's come into you know, from where he came from Salzburg. He's had to learn a different culture, sort of maybe a different language. He's had to settle. It didn't really happen for him. He went on loan, I think, which has done him the world of good. And he's come back as well. I believe he's quite a quiet person as well in and around the dressing room. He's not a large character, so he probably just gets on with how things are. But you know, we can only let his performances do the talking, and for him being up front in that central role, which looks like where Jurgen sees him at his best, all he can do is score goals, and he got a couple the other night. You know, if he's involved, then it'll be on his performance alone.
Okie doke. Well, the Brentford Community Stadium today is likely to be a new name to add to the list of away grounds for travelling Reds, and it looks a super setup down there, doesn't it? Rob Jones is pitchside for us right now.
Good afternoon from West London, and back in May, Brentford became the 50th different Premier League club, and the Bees have made a very good start to life in the top flight with 2 wins from their opening 5 games and just a couple of goals conceded as well so far. But opportunity knocks for Liverpool this afternoon, having seen both Chelsea and Manchester United beaten in the lunchtime kick-offs earlier on today. There is the chance to go 3 points clear at the top of the table. Jurgen Klopp has changed his side a little bit over the course of the opening 7 matches of this season, 26 in total early on. You would think it will be much more like the sort of sides we've seen in the Premier League so far this season, with obviously the choices to make at centre-half and an absence of both Naby Keita and Thiago in midfield. But you would expect Mo Salah to start as he goes in search of his 100th Premier League goal for Liverpool. Thomas Frank said he knows 10 of his starters going into this one. They beat Wolves 2-0 in their last league match. It promises to be a fascinating encounter here. 2 teams will play at high tempo, high pressing, but can Liverpool continue their fine, unbeaten start to this new season?
Yeah, let's hope so, Rob. And let's hear it from the boss now. Jurgen Klopp has been pretty impressed with Brentford's start to their debut season in the Premier League.
Top, very much. I really admire these kind of projects, if you want. They have a really special way of recruiting players. They are brave in pretty much all the things they do. They had the tough things to overcome, being close, not getting promoted, obviously, then being on the top, then have to go to the playoffs anyway, but made their way through. So that already strengthens your character, let me say like this. And now they are an incredible brave team, to be honest. So the work against the wall, the press they play is really good. So it will be really a tough one. So high intense team, pressing like crazy, have a playing build-up, but if the other team presses, then they are not shy to go a bit more direct. In all positions, really exciting players. In the back 3 is probably the tallest in Europe. All 3 massive players, and all these kind of things. So it's it's a challenge, and obviously they are in a new stadium, right? So they enjoy that as well. So it's an interesting thing, and I really respect that a lot. But of course, we go there for different reasons, not to tell them how much we like what they do. No, we want to get the points, but we know it will be a tough one.
Does your preparation change at all to face a back 3 when you know it's going to be a back 3 on Saturday, or does it not change?
If we have time to work on it, then we work on it. Obviously, it's now. Today and tomorrow we have a little bit of time, so we will do that, give some informations, but very often, not in this case, I'm pretty sure, but usually we prepare for one and then they play the other. What is it? It's always football, and the spaces you want to use, that doesn't really change. We want to get in behind the last line. If there are 4, 5, 6 or 7 players, that makes not that much a difference. But this team especially, they do pretty well. They are really solid, but it is when you have. I coached a team with a similar story with Mainz, so I didn't have to ask them for running their socks off. They just did that, and that's exactly the same here. These players in the first year in the Premier League, they do whatever they can to close each gap. They have to or don't have to. They are just there. They defend. They leave the 2 strikers up for makes it against 8. Then, but 1 drops for sure. They makes it against 9, and have Tony maybe a little bit waiting for the first ball they can defend, and it's interesting. That's how it is. But it's now your question. Yes, we prepare for these kind of things, but not that specific. We still focus much more on what we want to do anyway.
They are Jurgen Klopp's thoughts ahead of this one. Let's talk about the team, which we will have in the next hour. Talk about centre-back pairings. You think it will be Virgil and Joel Matip today? You do?
Yeah, you asked me before the show, yeah. I do. Both have been rested, and both have done nothing wrong to suggest that they shouldn't come straight back into the team. Brentford, they don't really change. They are what they are. They press very, very good. And in that respect, they will press our back 4 and certainly our back 2. And I think Virgil and Joel Matip, Joel has, for some reason, found his feet and coming out with the ball like a Gillespie and Hansen, hasn't he? And
he's been good, isn't he?
yeah, he's been very good. So in that respect, you know, to come out with the ball, someone who's comfortable with it in possession is good, and obviously Virgil's range of passing is excellent. So we can bypass the press quite easily.
I think the one thing you know about Brentford, like they'll keep the two up front, and it's, you know, like not many teams in the Premier League, or certainly modern day football, play with two strikers. So they will have the two strikers, and they are physical as well, and plenty of pace. So I agree. I think Matip and Van Dijk will come back in the starting lineup.
Let's move forward. Talk about midfield. You would think Henderson, Fabinho. Did Ox do enough to impress midweek, or would you think maybe Curtis Jones might get a start?
I thought his second half performance was better than his first. I thought he struggled first half. I don't know why. He just seemed to be guilty of giving it away a couple of times, which is not really like him. I do feel sorry for the Ox. He kind of is become a utility player, hasn't he? He's not nailed down. You know, he's not mastered one position. I think the manager's tried him, you know, in pre-season in that central role of the front three. He plays on the right or the left of the midfield holder, which is usually Fabinho. And it's just difficult for him to get into the team, and we keep saying it. You know, these players, they don't get enough game time when they don't play. So you've got to hit the ground running when you come in. You've got to put a good, solid performance in to put, you know, them, you know, for the manager to change his mind on what he's going to do, and I don't think he did enough for that. Possibly it could come in. We're going to see a lot of rotation, and we've got to go with what the manager thinks. He's quite capable of coming in and playing, of course he is, but I think Curtis Jones being taken off and playing better than him, I think stakes a claim in that Harvey Elliott role, possibly.
And up front, finally, Gary, is this touch and go for Bobby? Do you think he'll be back, or is Porto maybe a bit more realistic for him?
Well, I mean, speaking from experience, coming back from a hamstring injury, it's not an easy one to come back from and come straight back into a Premier League game. I think he'll be on the bench. I think Jota will start. I think it'll be the front three: Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, and Diogo Jota. I think that makes sense. And then if he is available, bring on Firmino and give him a little bit of game time and a little run out. But I think you've got to manage hamstring injuries, and I don't see him playing certainly from the start.
Let's talk about the opposition then, Brentford, because everything that they're doing at the moment seems to be winning praise, not just on the pitch, but the way that the club is run as well. And we all love a bit of romance, don't we, in the Premier League, and they're a welcome addition.
Well, I'm sure they'll tell you it's not happening by chance. It's, you know, proof of all the hard work and over the years that they put in. We were just talking there during the VT, you know, they went back to that kind of Moneyball system, didn't they, and brought in the analysts, and, you know, they've really, you know, looked at things and how the club's run. They've done away with the academy 5 years ago, and they've got more of a B team now. So their players, you know, behind the scenes get a lot of game time. The squad's not got a great deal of depth to it, and we'll have to see how it goes. But you always seem to get, you know, one of the teams that come up who flourish in the Premier League, don't we? We've seen it with Sheffield United, we've seen it with Leeds a couple of seasons ago, and it seems to be Brentford this season. I've been really impressed. I know they fed off the energy against Arsenal, and it was the first game of the season, it was under the lights, it was the Friday night, but I was really, really impressed with kind of the work rate, not so much the quality, but the work rate, the pressing, the fact that they all knew what to do, but also the way they handled the occasion. You know, fans hadn't been in the stadiums for 18 months, but they relished the opportunity that night, and they done a turn on Arsenal. But it wasn't by chance, it was by hard work and discipline, and, you know, what they've been trying to do over the last couple of years. I think Thomas Frank has done a fantastic job. You know, you look at all the different results, I think the Wolves result really stands out as well, having to play the last 25 minutes with 10 men, hold on to that lead. They had the ability to do that. So they've got, you know, they've got strength of mind to do that. They've got good quality, they've got discipline, they've got honesty, and it'll be a tough afternoon for Liverpool.
And you've seen there Thomas Frank, Gary, whose ethos seems to be quite similar to Jurgen Klopp, and they're full of praise for each other. He seems like a really good fit for the club.
No, it's a modern day way of playing, isn't it? Like with high intensity. You know, it's nothing new. I think when you look back to, like, certainly my time at Liverpool, I think we played with that sort of intensity, closing people high up the pitch. But it's something that kind of went out of the game a little bit. Again, a high back line as well. I think the whole philosophy about the football club is a good one. You know, they've bought well and they've sold well as well. You know, Ollie Watkins came in for about $1.5 million or something like that, and they sold him for what, 27 million or something like that to Aston Villa. So they've done, you know, the business model behind the setup on the football pitch is a good one as well, which always gives you a platform to go out onto the pitch and perform. But you still have to perform on the pitch. And the one thing you have to say in recent seasons they were a little bit unlucky in the Championship a couple of seasons ago, not coming into the Premier League. They managed to do that obviously last season, and they've hit the ground running in the Premiership and the Premier League, and really look a force to be reckoned with. How long that can continue remains to be seen, but at this moment in time they're going to give Liverpool a real tough game today.
Do you know what makes me laugh? We talk about these managers now, and there's a group of them: Nagelsmann, Klopp, Tuchel, Thomas Frank is kind of a new one. He's been thrown into that list. Everyone thinks that they invented the press. These boys were probably the best at it 30 years ago, and it's nothing new. I think football did go away from it. It changed a little bit, evolved a little bit, but sort of come back with these German managers. I know he's Danish, but he's very much of that ethos. It's nothing new, this press. It's just knowing how to do it and how to do it well. These were the best at it 30 years ago. That's why they won everything.
Nagelsmann on his skateboard. Did you see that this week? That was quite the picture on Twitter.
I've seen him fall. Did you see that one?
I haven't seen that one.
Oh, he goes, his seat, you know the seats where you put them down, you sit on them. He's got up to do something from the bench and it's flipped back up and he's fell. And he's caught himself on the floor.
Look for that on Twitter right now. Thank you very much, Bud. That is all from us in the studio, but do join us for more of the same on LFC TV and LFC TV Go as well. This is how our Saturday is going to shape up. From 4:30 Matchday Live, we'll have all the latest team news and previews ahead of today's game. Then come kick-off at 5:30, Steve Hunter and John Aldridge guiding you through all the action with live audio commentary. That will be followed by an hour's reaction to proceedings at the Community Stadium. So plenty to look forward to on LFC TV today, but for the moment, thanks for watching and goodbye.